S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Super Android 17 and Android 18 were released on the 22nd of December as Premium Bandai web exclusives, both retailing for 6,050 yen or $62 each on Premium Bandai US, which should ship late January 2022. As always, these are the Japanese releases, as I am based here in Japan. If you want to know where I buy all my figures, including regular releases, I'll leave links in the description below. So because Tamashii decided to release both Androids on the same date, and I guess it's quite appropriate as you can't really have one without the other, this review is going to be a double whammy. So I'll try to be as detailed as possible, as I always try to be, without, dragging it out for too long. And luckily both figures, despite being completely brand new sculpts, and of course different figures, actually share a very similar layout and design. Overall, I'm quite happy with both figures despite having some issues, mostly with quality control, and I think most of you will know what I'm referring to, but we'll talk about that soon enough. I find myself liking 17 a little more than 18, and I'll get into why a little later in the review. Both figures have fantastic articulation and use that updated articulation setup in the waist and legs, much like how we saw with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Accessories are bountiful and really add a lot of range in terms of expression for both androids, and just overall really fun figures to pose. Anyway, let's just get this out of the way first, as I really don't like to be strung up by negativity, and address the elephant in the room. And what I'm talking about are the faces, or more specifically the printing of the faces or misprinting of the faces on both figures. Now, I know a lot of collectors expressed that the eyes were too wide apart, especially when you compare them to the original androids from Dragon Ball Z, or if you have the event exclusives, the eyes on these new releases do seem a little bit wider apart. For me personally, that really hasn't been an issue, and I think it gives a certain distinction between the two releases. Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, despite being a part of the same property, are from two different eras and subsequently have two different art styles. For me, the head sculpts and even the proportions are very unique to Dragon Ball Super, and I think represent that more rounded, cartoony look very well. Now, the issue isn't the design, but more so the execution. For my particular copies, it's not too bad, but I have seen some pretty terrible examples on Instagram. But for some of the faces, and it's not all of them, the eyes are misaligned. For me, it was only 1 out of the 4 faces that had the issues, and it seems like it's the shouting face on both figures that had this problem. You can notice it way more on 18 than you can with 17, and even on his face, there's just something a little bit off with his eyes. With 18, it's the right eye that is printed way off to the right, and with 17, it's the left eye being a little bit off to the left side. We've had a similar issue with the Goku Banquet set, where the faceplate that comes in that release had the eyes printed a little too high. And for someone who is pretty picky when it comes to the head sculpts, for me this, obviously kind of sucks. Again, I'm glad it was only the one faceplate, but at this point, I can definitely understand everyone's frustrations, as this lack of quality control is pretty inexcusable. Hopefully this isn't on all copies, but do keep an eye out when you receive your figures. Anyway, as I said earlier, I'm not going to let this issue bog me down, as there still is a lot to like about these two figures. All the other faces look great, and the updated head sculpts are excellent as well. I'm really glad Tamashii resculpted the heads, and whilst the heads from the original releases would work perfectly fine with these bodies, this feels like Tamashii has gone the extra mile to give us two completely brand new figures. Speaking of sculpt work, both figures don't have the most intricate design in terms of their costumes. I mean, 18 is basically just in a tracksuit. However, there still is quite a bit of sculpted detail with all the wrinkles and creases in the clothing, the pockets, the zips, the belt, even the gold studs are painted on 17's jeans there. And because both androids have a fairly simple costume design, there really isn't anything that gets in the way, meaning you get some really good range of articulation. For paintwork, it's really just the white stripes down the side of 18's tracksuit, the laces and grey parts of her shoes, and the silver detailing on the zip. It's clean enough and they've given it enough layers of white paint for the pink not to show through. With 17, there's a bit more paintwork going on as we actually have printed letters on his chest with the MIR logo, Ranger on the side of his arm. The grey on the upper torso is painted, but the lower part of his torso isn't. The paint matches the unpainted plastic really well and you really can't tell the difference, so well done there. The belt and the buckle are painted in as well, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a little bit of gold on the studs there on his jeans. The shoelaces are painted, and we even get some shading there on the front of his jeans, which I think is a nice touch. Like I said, I really like the proportions on these guys. I'm not really sure how it works in the anime, but I feel both 17 and 18 look a little older when compared to their original counterparts. 18 is a little taller, has a little longer torso, giving her more adult proportions. Not sure if that's accurate to the anime, but for me, they look great together. Alright, so looking at articulation, and this is kind of what I meant when I said that both figures share the same kind of layout or body structure. And, you know, I'll get into it a little bit more when I show you 18, but first of all, let's have a look at 17. So 17 can look up that much, and his neck and head are both independent pieces, so that does help. Looks down quite a fair bit. Side to side tilt, and of course left and right rotation there as well. So for these shoulders, we get butterfly joints here for 17, which are great. You can get him to bring his shoulders in like that, and he does get quite a good range going out with his arm like that. There is a bicep swivel there, right there at the Ranger, I guess, arm strap, so it's hidden there quite well. I like how they did that. You get 360 rotation there at the shoulder. Double jointed elbows, and you do get your standard swivel and hinges there. There we go, hinges there at the wrist as well. So looking at the torso, upper, lower torso joints, you have really good ab crunch for 17. It does kind of gap there at the back, but I think that's a good sacrifice for some better range of articulation there at the abs. He does get upper swivel there at the upper torso, but as you heard, a bit squeaky. I don't think you would want to push it too much. Maybe heat it up, pop it out, and put some oil in there if you do want to use that swivel there at the upper torso. But you do get a smooth waist swivel there at the waist. There is a lower, I guess, it's connected via a ball joint, as is, you know, most Figuarts Dragon Ball figures. So you do get that kind of, you know, diaphragm kind of rotation there at the lower waist. The belt here is a separate piece. It's a floating piece, but it stays there pretty well. For legs, you get the new leg setup where you have that kind of, you know, butt flap there at the back, and it's very similar to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. it looks a lot cleaner. And I think they've implemented this kind of articulation for, other lines. I think this is very similar to the Jujutsu Kaisen line as well. It looks a lot cleaner, and you get pretty good range as well. 17 can do the splits about that much. It's not great, but not bad. He does kick forward about 90 degrees. And because of the butt flap, you can't kick, all the way. You can't kick back much at all, actually. It's pretty much non-existent, but there is a bit of movement right there. He does have upper thigh cut. You get double jointed knees. That goes up all the way really well, actually. And there is rotation there at the foot. And yes, they have given him the updated, I guess, ankle joints there. So he does get really good ankle pivot. Look at that. Again, this is very similar to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. They've updated it. They've made it a lot better than before. And yes, he does move his foot up and down. Actually, a lot better down than up. You get the toe joint there, foot joint, and yeah, just overall really good setup. Some very nice articulation. It feels good. Again, the updated waist joint here, not waist joint, the updated waist setup here is just, I like it. And it looks much cleaner as well. I like the shoulders. They've given him, butterfly joints there. So overall, just really good articulation. And you're going to see with 18 that it's pretty similar. So we'll just, take a break and we'll come right back and take a look at 18. Okay, so here is 18, and as you can see, I'm going to bring 17 in here. Very similar. You've got those shoulder joints there, the butterfly joints, upper torso, lower torso, the ab section there. The crotch section is pretty much the same. You've got that waist set up there. Really similar, but we're going to go through it since this is a new figure. So 18 does move her head up quite a fair bit. The neck again is a separate piece to the head, so it does help with the articulation. There she is looking down. You don't get too much. Actually, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Side tilt. There we go. It's pretty good, actually. And let's get that to focus. Sorry, guys. And you do get side-to-side rotation there as well. There isn't much of a problem in terms of her hair getting in the way. There's pretty good range of movement. So you do get that collar piece here, and that collar piece unfortunately isn't soft plastic, it's hard plastic. So I guess you don't want to push her head too far. You might end up getting some scratches, so do be careful of that. That collar piece here is hard plastic. Her shoulders are exactly the same as 17, so you're going to get that butterfly joint there. And you can bring, it's not going to stay, let's try the other shoulder. You can bring her arms in about that much. And again, you do get the 360 rotation there at her shoulders. 17 can move her arms past 90 degrees, which is great. And you do get the upper bicep swivel. Because she has that line down her tracksuit, when you move it side to side, it does break up that line. So I know some people might be bothered by it, so that that might be an issue for you if you, do care about that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. Double jointed elbows. Look at that, really good bend there. And this is what the elbows look like. It's nice and clean, I think. I think they've done well in hiding the joints for the elbows. And it's the same for 17 as well. I'm going to bring him back here. His shoulders are exactly, sorry, his elbows are exactly the same. All right. So going back to 17, going back to 18, she does have, your hinges at the hands and swivels, of course. And just like 17, she has the upper and lower torso joints there as well. So she does get pretty good ab crunch, just like 17. Bends back really well. You can swivel side to side, and it's a bit, I guess, looser. It's not loose, it's just not as tight as 17's upper torso joint, so you do get a bit of side to side movement there. But most of the side to side swivel is going to be at the lower waist, and again you've got that ball joint there exactly like 17, so you get that, I guess, diaphragm movement there at the waist. And that little rib section there of the tracksuit is a separate piece, so it does move up and down when you move her ab crunch. Again, same setup with the crotch, much cleaner. You got the butt flap there. Looks nicer, I think. Not too far out in terms of the spready there, but not bad either. Yeah, I think 18 gets a little bit higher in terms of forward kick. Backward, again, that butt flap's gonna stop it, but that's okay. We do also get upper thigh cut and double jointed knees. Very good range there. Swivel there at the foot. There we go. Down. Not too much up. Toe joint there. And again, some pretty good ankle pivot. Really happy with that ankle joint there, and I'm really happy that they updated it. It looks like the newer figures are going to have that updated articulation in the ankles as well, so really happy about that. So again, overall, just really good articulation for both figures. Very smooth, really fun to pose, and yeah, just all round, yeah, good range of movement. Now both figures come with a plethora of accessories, and this is one of the reasons why these figures are so expressive and fun. The hands have got to be the best thing about these guys, and it's not that we get 6 sets for both figures, but it's the fact that they are just really well sculpted, really nice looking hands. First up, 17. We get 2 fists, 2 flat open palm hands, 2 open palm fingers spread hands, which are my all-time favorite. Just look at these beautiful puppies. 2 open palm blast hands, and 2 open palm blast hands, but with pegs to hold the charged energy ball, which 18 also has. So if you have both figures, you can have each with one, or have one of the androids dual wielding or dual charging. We get 4 faceplates with 17, and while they aren't perfect like I mentioned before, we still get a lot of options, which I think is a good thing. In addition to the normal head sculpt, 17 also comes with an action blowing in the wind head sculpt, much like how he did with the original Z version. Last but not least, we get a green energy effect that goes over the fist, made from a translucent green plastic with some silver shading. We also get some really nice hands with 18, 2 fists, 2 flat palm open hands, 2 curled finger fighting pose hands, which are very reminiscent of Vegeta's iconic pose hands, another 2 different open palm curled finger hands, and like 17, we get 2 open palm blast hands, and another set which are the same sculpt with pegs for the charged energy ball that you can plug in. 4 different interchangeable faceplates for 18. The smirking face, probably my favorite. It's very iconic to her character. And like 17, 18 also comes with a more action style head sculpt as well. 4 faceplates and 2 head sculpts. Tamashii didn't skimp on the accessories this time around. I just wish they could pack in this much in with all of their releases. And of course, we also get an accessory to simulate 18 putting her hands in her pockets. These work just like how every Figuarts figure does, every Figuarts Dragon Ball figure does, where you pop off the arms from the bicep and switch them out. The accessory just rests over her lower torso and works really well, I think. As much as I'm disappointed with the face printing, I really am happy to have super versions of the androids, especially since I missed out on the event exclusive Z versions. I'm not overlooking the fact that Tamashii should really look into their quality control, and for what you're paying, it's something that shouldn't be an issue in the first place. However, in saying that, these figures are really a lot of fun. The updated articulation just feels really good in hand. And you can get the figures into some really dynamic poses. Coupled with an abundance of accessories, these 2 overall are great releases. And if nothing else, them hands! I really love the hand accessories. Please, Tamashii, give us more good looking hands. It does look like we'll be getting an update on the Goku hands with the upcoming Ultimate Gohan next year, so that's something to look forward to as well. Are these worth the price of admission? Yeah, I'd say so, if you can get them at or close to the original retail. I know it's a bit hard now since all pre-orders have closed, but if you want super versions of the androids, I think these are the ones to go with. There are third-party options, but for me personally, they just aren't as good. The third-party 17 was a great stand-in and made good use of the original 17 body with some minor retooling. I didn't end up picking up the third-party 18 as I knew Tamashii would eventually come out with a better version of their own. And for me, that third-party figure looked a little off in terms of proportions, having a overly long torso. If you can't find these official versions, the third-party ones are an option, but again, I would go for the official releases if you can get a hold of them. Alright guys, this is probably going to be my last review of the year. I will have my top 10 Dragon Ball figures of 2021 up before the year's end. If not, it'll be up early 2022, so do look out for that. In any case, thank you all for another year of support. I can't tell you guys just how much I appreciate you. Take good care of your health, enjoy the holidays, and as always, yoroshiku!